Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and I'm here with,
Curtis from Olympus Reptiles.
and believe it or not, this is not a news video, even though I had the same beginning. We're also here with a Lilith 2.0, which is my little Gaboon Viper. And you're probably wondering why we're filming with a Gaboon Viper on a table. Well, I'll be honest, that's just for eye candy purposes. I won't even keep it out that long. But today's video is going to be about keeping venomous snakes. And you and I don't agree on that necessarily, do we?
No, we don't.
I mean, it's not like we have this big fight or anything. It's just we see things a little differently. So we want to kind of talk about that because keeping venomous snakes is certainly not for everybody. It's not for every keeper. And I don't like the idea that I see where it becomes this goal people have. Like, well, you're not a real reptile keeper unless you keep hots. Do you feel like that's the case?
No, because there's lots of reptiles besides venomous stuff.
And I agree. Like, that's something we agree on. So that's the thing, first and foremost, I want to address is, for me, and we're going to talk about why I like to keep hots, and we're going to talk about why you really don't care, do you?
No.
I mean,
it's just something I just wouldn't keep.
Yeah, if you were it for Olympus, if it was you and you hired somebody else and I died from whatever reason, would you have any venomous snakes, really?
No, probably not.
Do you see any business value in these?
Not really. Like, I don't know, you can breed venomous stuff and sell them, but there's a very limited market, and you got to be careful on. There's a lot more restriction on laws where you can sell them, where you can't, even more than they are on bigger snakes. Like there's laws for like, you know, because in Manhattan there are restrictions in the city of Manhattan, Kansas. There's restrictions on the length of snakes you can keep.
Right.
And
Was restrict on any venomous in the city.
and then on all venomous.
Right. Even for us, like we could not keep any venomous, native or non-native, living within the city limits. And there's really no way around that. They don't have if you get this license, or if you do this, or if you do that, or if you rub a lamp and a genie pops out. It's just an absolute no. Correct.
Yep.
I mean, I guess the only exception is a pet shop license, but you have to be a bona fide. Like you can't just go out as hey, I have a pet shop in my house. Like, it's got to be a retail establishment in a retail district, taxes retail to get a license, which we have.
Yeah, because we have to have inspectors come and inspect it, and we have to pay fee. It's a hassle to do all that stuff to just have a retail pet shop. And that's even before we even keep any venomous stuff, just to have the retail pet shop.
And so like we have the retail shop because we actually have the retail shop. But that's the only way in our local city to be out. For full disclosure, we live a good 12, 13 miles outside of the city limit. So
I guess if you owned a zoo in Manhattan, you could.
Yeah, if you own a zoo, but it has to be an accredited zoo.
Yep.
So you can't just open up a roadside zoo and call it a zoo. You got to be AZA accredited in order to do that. Which all that does is say you don't have to abide by the city ordinance. You still have to abide by local or state laws and county laws, which include making sure that the local people know what you got, which is basically what we're required to do. And then you have to keep it for certain reasons. As a matter of fact, by ordinance, we're actually shopping for another snake because we have to be wanting to produce them, or at least attempting to sell out of state. So yeah, it's a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah. See, the reason I am not a big fan of venomous snakes, like I like them personally, but I wouldn't keep any as a pet because of the more restricted laws, the chances of you getting injured, and just the more care that they take. Because like if we need to clean her cage, we have to take her all the way out and then clean her cage. Where the ball pythons, we can just open them up, clean them as they're in there. The worst thing we're going to do is get a little bit of a bite from a ball python, which is no problem at all.
Right.
If you get bit by one of those, there's a possibility you could have major problems.
Absolutely. And the other day I cleaned several more hot cages or big display cages, and it took me a lot longer than it should to clean 3 cages because everything had to be hooked, taken out, redone, 100%, rehooked, put back in, equipment checked. So I guess then you're against it because there's no good business reason to do this.
No, there's not really a big market for them.
Right.
And you can sell them and make money, but it's not going to be worth your time. You'd be doing it just because you enjoy it.
What about filming? What do you think about these for filming?
I guess there is an okay market for filming venomous stuff, like Viper Keeper. Like he doesn't display his numbers of how many subscribers and stuff he has, but I think he has a pretty good following on YouTube. And then, there are some other like venomous videos, but some of them are out just herping. It's not even people keeping venomous stuff. It's just stuff that they find in the wild too that they film.
Yeah, and Viper Keeper is a good mention because I also like the way he does his stuff. It's not a bunch of over sensationalized. It's he just kind of does it. It's kind of cool. So yes, there's not a good business hospital. So then why do we have them? Like, why do you think we have them?
Because you enjoy them, and it does add a little bit different stuff to our filming.
It does for the filming, and Kurt's right, I enjoy them. So I'm going to come at this for why I think people need to keep venomous or should keep venomous, and I'm going to tell you not everybody needs to, not everybody should. It's definitely a personal decision. It doesn't make me a better keeper because I have venomous. It doesn't make me special because I have venomous. It doesn't make me more manly. It doesn't make me more macho. It doesn't do any of that. All of that, rah, look at me, I keep a rattlesnake and all you have is a ball python crap is total bullshit. What it boils down to for me is I have a major... Are you going to yawn right there? Oh my God, you are. I love this snake. Things like that. Like I couldn't have queued that up better. So the difference is when you get to this point, the vast majority of my animals are in tubs because that's where they're going to breed the best, it's where it's easiest to care for them. But I don't see them. I lost that part where I get to come in, I just get to look at something and just truly be amazed. In my display room, I get to do that. I get to be amazed by my hypermelanistic rattlesnake every day I'm in there. The albino, every day I'm in there. The just sheer strength and pure pissiness of Red, every day she tries to bite me in the face. Or now that she's in a bigger cage and lower, it's usually more in my belly button. Just stopping for a second when that snake yawn, I think she's a little piece of substrate in there. She will get that out, no worries. Just those kind of things, they help keep my passion for what I do up. And by proxy, they help keep my passion for the ball pythons up because I'm coming in and I'm keeping that amazement and that passion. So for me, that's what it is. It's this animal that I see that I feel like I interact with. And even though I don't get to pick it up and carry it, I still get to do that with my pythons. I find something that I get to look at and just be blown away. Now, you keep some reptiles in your house still too, right? I see you side-eyeing me. Knock that shit off.
Yep, I have quite a few reptiles. I have a ball python, I have a bearded dragon, leopard gecko, and then I have some boas.
And all of yours none of them are in rack systems.
Nope, they're all in cages.
They're all in cages. The ball python you took home, if I remember correctly, because for your kids, right?
Yep.
And this is funny. So they've never seen South Park, but they got a lesser and they named it Butters. I was so proud of them. They had no idea why. But I'm like, good kids.
Because I told them, I was like, this is a lesser, and they also kind of call them a butter. I was kind of explaining about it, so then they picked the name Butters for the
Butters.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, how'd you pull that off? He's like, they did it. I'm like, no way. And so they've never even seen the show. They're not allowed to watch it. But they have a snake named Butters. And that makes my heart happy. The bearded dragon is also for your kids, correct?
Yep.
And then the boas are a side project we're starting to work on. We eventually want to breed boas. So we're working towards that goal. But, boas, we don't really rack them. I mean, you could. I guess there's racks for them. But we've elected to run, display front cages on them, right? Yep. And so you get that. You get to go in there when you work those animals and see them and watch them and have that amazement that I just don't get anymore very often. I mean, I have to open it up and I got to work because you're like, I gotta get the next one. So for these, this is how I keep my passion up. This is how I do that. This is how I feel that connection and how I feel like I've furthered myself in reptile keeping. But it's not like, I hate the feeling of, oh, if you keep venomous, it's this other level. It's another level, different level of keeping, a different type of keeping, a different style of keeping, but it shouldn't be the end-all goal to be a great keeper to have hots. That does bother me. And I feel that comes sometimes. And even when I was new myself, I would look at people who kept hots, and what would we always say?
I don't know. For me, it was just that was good credit to them, but I would never want
I would never, yeah. We used to live in my basement, right? Yep. We both are on marriage number 2. So in between marriage 1 and marriage 2, Kurt was living in my basement. So, which he paid rent. It wasn't like, anyway. And we both said that, man, we'd never get a hot when we start this. Never wanted to get a venomous. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I want to bring home a timber rattlesnake. And Kurt was like, even then, weren't you?
Yeah, I was like, if that's what you want, as long as we have a locked cage and keep it safe.
Yeah, and which we did, and most of your family told you we were stupid. Most of my family told me we were stupid. So, my wife was like, what? You want to do what? And I wasn't married yet, so she didn't have much say in it, thankfully. So I did it anyway. And there we go. We were keeping this timber rattlesnake. Oh, you're just so cool. If you start running around, I got to put you up, though, girly.
Another reason why I choose not to keep venomous snakes or venomous animals is because if they have any medical issues, they are a lot harder to take care of.
They are. We have a set of tubes. We don't have a set here at the house. We have a set at the shop. So what we would have to do, like let's say if I thought, okay, that piece of litter that's in her mouth, she's not going to be able to get that out. I'm going to have to go move that for her. The way I would do that is I would tube this snake, which in and of itself is a pain in the ass. And then I would use a tool on the other end of the tube to go in there and pop that out. So, it can be done. And we have had to do some medical work in tubing snakes. I've had to remove eye caps from rattlesnakes and things like that. And it certainly does take longer. It's certainly not a lot of fun. They also make it hard to take these to the vet in Kansas because one of the things on our local law is if I took that in there, I have to put a GPS device in it, which just is this big bulky thing. And it doesn't, yeah. So, but I don't have to do that to keep it, only if it goes under anesthesia for any reason medically. Then it has to be done. So I have to get the snake a surgery just to take it to the vet, which is kind of stupid, but I don't make the rules. But yeah, that's my whole thing. So I think if you choose to keep venomous snakes, one, you shouldn't feel obligated to keep them to get to a certain level. That should not ever be the goal. If you do it, you need to do it for the passion of it, for the desire of it. Do it because you find them so interesting. And two, a lot of these animals I keep, especially like this one on the table here and the one we're going to show on Patreon, which actually isn't a venomous snake. It has feet, so be prepared for that. I were animals I never thought I could have. They were animals I'd seen somewhere, and I just thought I'll never be able to have that. And then lo and behold, as I got deeper and deeper into this, I found I could. And it just makes me happy. This is one of those spots where my happiness is. It could kill me, but I don't care. Is that stupid? No, dude, kill me, I don't care. You got kids. I think that changes it too, right?
Yeah, because with kids, you can tell them, hey, don't mess with that, don't do that, and they're always going to get into mischief. And, I'd have to have in a separate room that's locked and have each cage that's locked and then just everything, and then I still wouldn't be comfortable with them there.
No. And even here at the house, because people do come here, we've had family here, people stay here. Our whole reptile section now is locked off, where you have to have a key to get in. There's only two. I've got one. Kurt has one. My wife's going to get one just in case I leave my keys at home when she comes with me. Every venomous cage we have has a lock on it, save one. And that is actually this one. It has barriers in it. There's 3 different latches you have to do. But that's just because it's young. Well, I guess I forgot about the banded rock. It's not a locking cage either. As they grow and get into their final cage, they will be cages that have a lock on them and are locked all the time. So yes, 2 locks is always good. Security of the animal is important,
Yep.
And then your personal risk. There is risk to keeping these. You got to decide.
And plus, I have reptiles in my house, but we also have quite a few pets too. We have dogs and cats.
Oh yeah, and you think, well, they wouldn't mess with it, but a cat would like to lay on top of a snake cage, right?
Yeah.
Mine used to. Dogs will knock stuff over, and if you have a glass cage, with this one's in glass, it gets knocked over, it shatters. Now you have a pissed off, scared to death Gaboon Viper on the floor.
And you got dogs that are circling it, barking at it.
Yeah. And people then trying to get involved and save their dog, right?
Yeah.
And then this is a recipe for bad shit. It really is. So definitely, some locking measures. So I guess, in closing, would you ever, under a circumstance, for you personally, be for having these?
The only way is if they're a separate location like here, but no, not at my house personally.
What about like a outbuilding at your place?
No.
No, this is
Not unless they're wild and I don't know they're there.
But you wouldn't want to ever just keep one as a pet if
No.
it was up to you.
No.
And see, for me at this point, I could not see having reptiles and not having at least a couple of these display animals. To me, at this point, it's just a part of what I do and a part of how I identify my hobby. You know, I couldn't imagine being without something. Whether it may not always be a gaboon viper, but I'll probably always have a rattlesnake or something like that. I mean, I've had a reaper now, going on 6 years, right?
Sure.
We got him in 15.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going on 6 years having reaper, and he wasn't a baby. So, like, I've had him a long time, and it's just great. So, different strokes for different folks, I guess, is the point. And even though we don't see eye to eye on this at all, right?
Yep.
Does it cause us any problems as a partnership?
No.
Not really. No.
Because even when you're gone, I could work with him or do something if I needed to. Like I have at the pet shop too. Like I've helped Caleb, our manager there, do stuff when he's there. And I'm comfortable doing that, but it's just something that I wouldn't personally do. No.
And before I leave, because I do travel a bit, I try to make sure they all have full water. I tell Kurt, if they run out of water, spray some water in there for the love of God. But they can all skip feeding for a week, right?
Yep.
I don't even make you mess with feeding them. They'll be fine. I mean, you can tell this thing's a chunk. It ain't hurting. And that's pretty par for the course with most of our venomous. So, yeah, we don't have any issues. We don't have a lot of arguments. They're thankfully not overly expensive, so I don't spend too much on them. And I think we get back what we put into it through, the filming and people wanting to see them when they stay here. I do think they're a big draw for that. But we'll probably never get much out of them breeding-wise. I'll give you that.
No.
But it does make me work harder. All right, I'm going to put this back. Anything you want to add before we go?
No.
All right, guys. So I guess not all I got. So I guess just a kind of a quick review. Don't feel like you have to do this to get to that expert level. It means nothing. This is a whole different thing. It doesn't reflect on having venomous. Doesn't make you a better keeper or a more skilled keeper or any of that crap that people try to push. Do what you're comfortable with. If you want to get into it for the passion. Know it's more work. Reach out, get help, all of those things. Otherwise, don't worry about it. And if you never want to get into it, that's fine too. Can I get that out of there? You gonna let me? No? Okay, fine. I'll leave it in there. That's all I got. We'll catch you next time, guys.